Welcome, everybody, to Hot Takes on the Lake. We are two lifelong Browns fans, and we like to watch and talk about the Browns here on our podcast. So if it's your first time here, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform, make sure to subscribe so you can join us this entire Browns season as we cover the games. And we have taken about a week break. I was out of town, so we previewed the Thursday night game, but we didn't get to recap it. The Browns did get a win there on Thursday Night Football against the Steelers, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, the Browns lost to the Atlanta Falcons 23-20 in Atlanta, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about with this game. But first, Nick, I'm just going to throw it over to you. What are your initial thoughts coming out of this loss today against Atlanta?
Well, I'll just say first and foremost, I don't think there's any reason that this team should not be 4-0 as we're sitting here right now. We talked about it when we first were, going over the season, especially the first 4 to 5 games. We really thought that we could get some early wins because, I mean, Brissett has been playing really well, but I think we expected him to be struggling a lot more. So we thought, well, especially these first couple of games against bad teams, those should be at least 3 to 4 wins against lower competition to really get him acclimated with the system, with the offense, with the different players and stuff. But here we are sitting at 2-2. So I mean, we're Browns fans, so we know never to get our hopes up. But still, it sucks because, like I said, we easily could be 4-0, and I don't think that's really an exaggeration.
Yeah, you definitely think of that, and, especially after the Jets loss, you definitely thought, well, we basically consider ourselves a 3-0 team. Week 2 was just a terrible slip up. But even on the Thursday night game, we won that game, but still did not look good in the fourth quarter. And now after today, it really seems like having the lead in the fourth quarter, we are not good at closing out games. There's a lot that we're not good at through these first 4 weeks, but that really stands out as we just cannot close out games. Doesn't matter how much of a lead we have or how well we're doing throughout the game. A rough start in the beginning like today or a really good start like we've had in other games this year, it seems like it really doesn't matter. We get to the end of the game with a lead and we just either blow it or come really close to blowing it. Even in our wins, we just scraped out with wins there. So really not looking good from that standpoint. And I don't know if that's on one person or if it's a whole organizational thing that needs to be improved. I'm sure it's a mix. But, you know, forget the first 3 games. Just from watching today's game, what stuck out to you is like this was the biggest reason you think that we lost this game today?
I think it has to be the coaching on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. Um, Defensively, it's just the same old, same old. I mean, it's just kind of week in and week out. We're talking about the same things. Um, Again on that last drive for Atlanta where they set up the field goal. We just had a guy who's just wide open. I mean, I know they were playing zone, but I mean, there's no excuse for a guy to be just wide open with nobody within 15 yards of him. That's just inexcusable. Um, and then obviously, just letting Atlanta run all over us. I mean, I think at one point what they ran like at least like 10 to 15 straight run plays and they were scoring and they were just having no problem whatsoever. And it wasn't even Cordero Patterson who was, he's fine. I mean, he's a full-time running back now, but still, I mean, he's not like Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry or one of these guys. It was like this random practice squad guy, and then this other backup that was just just had a complete open field to run through, and just a lot of missed tackles out there. It was just inexcusable, honestly. I know the defensive line. I mean, yes, you don't have Clowney, you don't have Garrett, you don't have a couple other guys out there, but still, I feel like we're getting a lot of pressure on Mariota despite that. So that was really discouraging. Just the way that they were able to run on us with ease. And then the offense, just the play calling at certain points is really just. I'm almost at my wits end just with this the amount of like stupid bubble screens that we try to do. We get like 1 out of 5 that actually go for positive yardage. That reverse to Njoku that lost about 5 or 6 yards. Again, we got that big play to DPJ. We almost had a touchdown, but we got it down to the 1. You give the ball to Chubb one time, and then you know you roll out Jacoby to the right where there's only like one guy there who is already covered, and then you end up getting a holding call on it anyways, and then you have to get backed up. So plays like that, and just the play calling from an offensive standpoint is really just all over the place, and that's a thing with Kevin Stefanski that's really like I said, I'm really just getting sick and tired of that. I feel like, a lot of times it's, we learned in school, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You have the best running backs in the league, you have one of the best offensive lines, and we were having good success running the ball. I don't understand why we don't go to that more, and we just try to get too cute out there. It really just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think from those two perspectives, offensively and defensively, it has to be on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially, the defense is bad, really, at this point in the season. And I understand we didn't have our defensive ends, but we'll jump into the defense separately. But yeah, I would say this was probably one of Kevin Stefanski's worst games as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, if not his worst game. I mean, I appreciate we have a commitment to running the ball throughout the game from a big picture perspective, and the amount of times we run the ball. If you look at it, we had about 30 rush attempts this game. But why is Atlanta with no premier running back outrunning us in terms of yardage? And it seems like with every team this year, regardless of if they have a good or decent or bad running attack, our defense just lets that happen. That's not good. And then sticking back to what you said on the offense with Kevin Stefanski, it seems like although we have that commitment throughout the entire game, he will allow himself to stall out our drives because it's like he's playing Madden. Like it's almost like he gets too bored just running the ball over and over, so he tries to mix it up. And once in a while, you'll have a really good play like that play to Donovan Peoples-Jones where you mix it up for a big shot and it works. And that was probably the best play of the game in all aspects for the Browns. I mean, DPJ catching it with the sun in his eyes, all of that. That was great. But to do a reverse to a tight end in Njoku, like I get that Njoku's a big guy and he's pretty quick, but you're running a reverse to a tight end, which puts him 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You're doing a screen to a tight end. Like these things just don't make any sense. We are yet again, let me check the exact stat here. On the receiving, we threw it to Harrison Bryant, another four receptions, threw it to him 6 times. Why are we throwing it to him 6 times? And I think that might be a Brissett thing in his comfort level. I don't think Bryant's, the first option on all those plays, but it's just like, it just baffles me sometimes that I'm not saying you have to go out and run the ball on first, second, and third and long, but when we're being successful, sometimes we'll just stop. And it's not, you can't blame it on, well, Chubb got tired. Okay, well, you have Kareem Hunt also. They can't both be getting tired on the same drive. Yeah, it's just really baffling to me in that aspect. And I thought all around, I mean, the flea flicker play, all of these weird plays that take so long to develop that there's these holding calls, like, it just seemed really weird from a play calling aspect for sure.
Yeah, and one of those last bubble screens that we tried to run to Njoku, it just kind of broke down, and then, I mean, even if it was complete, Batonia was too far down the field anyway, so it was going to be called back. But yeah, just plays like that, and even with that reverse to Njoku, even if you do it with a guy like Schwartz who has a lot of speed, I mean, it would have been a negative play anyways. It would have been a bad play no matter if who you would have pitched it to, but especially with a tight end, that just made no sense. I can understand if you want to try to mix it up and have him throw, but I mean that was a run. He wasn't even trying to, you know, look for anybody to throw it to. That was a run all the way for Njoku. So that play calling, and I mean I feel like it's just the theme of this podcast is why why aren't we running the ball? We run the ball a lot, but I think your gripe and my gripe is always, you know, the obvious spots where you should be, we just don't for some reason. Like you said, we get too cute. I don't know what the answer, or I don't know what the explanation is for why we're doing that. But I think the first couple of drives out of the second half, there were just quick 3-and-outs, and we just kept taking deep shots. And I'm sorry, but Brissett's deep shot accuracy is really spotty. Besides that play to Peoples-Jones right before halftime, he's been missing guys deep. His stuff has been really kind of underneath, over the middle, and he's been playing well. That's the thing, but you can't expect him. He doesn't have that type of arm, doesn't have that type of touch as an elite quarterback to run those plays as often as we do. And I already said it before, but like you left more points on the board when you had the ball on the 1 yard line. I don't care if the defense is expecting it. That play has to go to Nick Chubb 4 times in a row if it has to. I don't care if it's fourth down and you haven't gained 1 yard. Give it to Nick Chubb again, or even hell, sneak it with Brissett. He's 99% successful on quarterback sneaks. Try it with him 4 times. But no, and we did that I think on our first drive too. We tried to roll out on like fourth down, nobody was open, and then he just basically had to throw it away. Um, so really, it's not a new thing for Kevin Stefanski. I feel like since he's been here, there's always been these type of plays where in these type of drives where, like you said, we just stall ourselves out. It's not necessarily the defense scheming up anything or doing anything fancy. It's we're just not going with what works for us, and we're just trying to be too much of a team that we're not, too much of a big play team. And I'm sorry, besides Cooper, Peoples Jones has been playing well, but we don't really have a big play wide receiver. So I don't know why we're trying to run those plays, why we're looking for Harrison Bryant, especially on that third down, which was a terrible play call. It could be like you said, he's comfortable with Bryant. I understand that, but then that also falls on Kevin Stefanski. You have to scheme up things to get Amari Cooper open. I know AJ Terrell is a good young cornerback, but I mean he's your best wide receiver. You have to scheme him to try to get open more, and we just refuse to do that at times.
Yeah, and that is really confusing too because I mean Cooper in the first game he didn't get a lot of touches, but he was drawing a lot of flags that were getting us down the field. The Panthers were obviously kind of scared of him, and then the last 2 games he had 100+ yards games in both of the last two. So then he comes into this one and he has one reception for 9 yards, and you're thinking well maybe he was getting those flags again, but he only had 4 targets. So it's just very odd to me. And I feel like Jacoby, to go back to Jacoby, I think this game, the first 4 games in general, but this game specifically, it has to put to rest any notion of there being any type of quarterback controversy when Deshaun Watson is able to take the field. Because like I like Jacoby, watching his interviews and stuff since he's been here, like he seems like a great guy and like a really good locker room guy, and a lot of the traits that you would look for in a quarterback. But when he's on the field he makes some good plays. He had that rushing, was it a touchdown that he rushed for, and he makes some good plays, but it's like he's really accurate, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but it's not because he's like elite. It's one of those, it's 3rd and 11 and he throws a 4-yard pass, to get it to 4th and 5. Like he's that kind of accurate. Like anytime he takes a big shot, you're really kind of worried. And anytime you're in a 2-minute drill situation, you're kind of don't really have that confidence in him. We've had 3 of those situations this year. Week 1, congratulations to him. He got us down for a 60-yard field goal. But the other 2 games, he threw a pick to end the game. And it's like, I'm not trying to kill him. He wasn't brought in to be the answer, and he's done fairly well so far. But, you just kind of have to understand, like, this is what we're working with until week, 12 or 13 or whatever. So I'm not going to hamper too much on him or blame him too much. But at the same time, I'm not really having any faith in a passing attack with this team until Deshaun Watson's here, which puts us in a really bad situation because even teams that are great at running the ball cannot run the ball the entire time. And, I think we're victims of that as well. So yeah, that's kind of worrisome.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interception to end the game today, it was really bad that he took the sack. But I mean, yeah, he should have looked underneath on that play. I know they didn't have any timeouts, but that was just I think he was trying to go to David Bell, but he just wasn't open. He forced it, and he forced another one against the Jets too. So, I don't blame him for trying to make a play at the end of the game when yes, it wasn't a good throw. He wasn't open, but really, like you said, he's been good the rest of the way. I mean, he's exceeded my expectations. I would assume he's exceeded yours. But I still that's not reason to like just rely on the passing game, like you said. The bread and butter of this offense of this team is running the football. And yes, you can't run it every single time, but it just seems like the passing game is not working. And really, our running game helps sets up the passing game, and that's true for pretty much every team out there. But it seems like we kind of reverse that for some reason. Like we try to start throwing the ball over the field and then go to the run, and then when it doesn't work out, it's like okay, well let's just keep throwing the ball. So it really just it makes no sense. And yeah, the players obviously, you know, yes, there were probably mistakes out there, but like I said, I think just from the play calling standpoint and just the whole game plan and strategy, this has to fall on the coaching staff because you had this game. And, obviously, I think in hindsight, you would have liked Kevin Stefanski to take those 3 points on the opening drive. But then again, if you would have scored a touchdown right before halftime, maybe that wouldn't have mattered anyways. Maybe if the defense wouldn't have let the Falcons run 15 straight run plays and score a touchdown, that would have been a big help as well. Because Mariota, he completed 7 passes.
Yeah.
He completed 7 passes. And that's, he has Kyle Pitts out there who, let me see, he had
One reception.
25 yards, only 4 targets. And besides that, they have nobody really to throw to. So, on paper, it's just baffling how we lost this game. So, I'm just going to have to say it's the coaching staff again.
Yeah.
It's just, not calling the right plays at the right time and not showing up again in the fourth quarter when we really need it to get a stop.
Yeah, and I was just about to bring up Mariota. I mean, respect to Joe Flacco and Mariota for beating us so far this year, but we have not even faced a good quarterback yet this year. You know what I mean? And we'll get to the upcoming schedule here in a little bit, but, Mariota, we just lost to a quarterback that not only is, not really a starter in many teams in the league, right? Like, he's a starter because of the situation he's in Atlanta. No disrespect to him, but he went 7 for 19 for 139 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Like, none of his receivers caught the ball more than twice. Like, it at some points felt like, wow, they can just throw it all around the field on us. But when you actually look at it and break it down, it was just in those big spots. We always just leave people wide open, on 3rd and longs towards the end of the game. But throughout the game, we did pretty well, against their passing attack. It was a run defense that really just kind of fell apart. And then our pass defense, like I said earlier, for some reason, just doesn't show up in the fourth quarter seemingly ever. And I don't know why that is. We had our 2 defensive ends out, especially Myles Garrett, debatably, best player on our team, definitely the best player on our defense. So I do get that, but it's like, you can't let a quarterback have that stat line against you, throwing for less than 150 yards, terrible accuracy percentage and completion percentage, and beat you and score 23 points. It's baffling. I actually, of all the things I was mad at Kevin Stefanski for today, I am not mad at the 2-point conversion at the beginning of the game. He is aggressive, and it's also one of the things, my philosophy is, if it's, relatively low risk point in the game, if you don't get the conversion, they then have to go essentially the entire field to score on you. So I wasn't super mad at that. Of course, you would love to pick that up, but I'll take that over, a end around reverse to David Njoku, or like all these other boneheaded things we did this game. So that one didn't really bother me that much. I hate when we do something like that and then people are like, well, that 3 points really cost us. It's like, yeah, as if the game would have then played out exactly the same. It's just like a dumb take in my opinion. But yeah, I can't believe, looking at these stats and even watching the game live, I'm like, the Falcons are not good. Like, they're not going to win a lot this year, even though they're, 2-2 at this point, just like us. I don't see them winning a lot of games, yet we let them beat us because it was really our offense. Like, as much as I think our defense has been really bad, especially in the fourth quarter, our offense really just could not do anything in this game, and I think it's because we really have no passing attack, and that's, because of the coaching and the play calling and because of Brissett. It's a lot that's going on there. So it's really worrisome because, and this is where we can transition, but, you look at our upcoming schedule, we have the Chargers, the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Bengals left this month. If we play the way that we've been playing so far this year, we're going to be lucky to win one of those games, in my opinion. Like, squeak out a win in one of those games. I know that something might be going on with the Patriot, with Mac Jones. I don't know his full health status, but yeah, that's going to be tough, and we could be sitting here at 2-6. 3-5 might be a good case scenario if we keep playing like this. I don't know what we do at this point from like an adjustment, from a team adjustment standpoint to kind of turn this around quickly.
Yeah, and like I alluded to earlier, we had talked about, the beginning of this schedule being really easy and really favorable for us to get some wins. And yeah, the Chargers, New England. I mean, I just saw Brian Hoyer got hurt, so who even knows who's gonna play quarterback for them. So okay, maybe you pick up a win there at Baltimore. Not confident about that one. Cincinnati, it's always 50-50. We've seemed to have their number somehow, even with Baker Mayfield, but I feel like that one could be a weird type of game. At Miami, I don't know if Tua's not dead. I mean, if he's dead, they'll probably still make him play anyways, the way that they're running that ship down there. So that's going to be a tough game. At Buffalo, that's a loss.
Destroyed.
Tampa Bay,
destroyed.
That's a loss.
Yep.
At Houston, when Deshaun Watson gets back, I mean, on paper, it should be a win, but I mean, Deshaun Watson will probably be rusty. So who knows? That might be a close win. Another game is Cincinnati, another Baltimore. Those again are 50-50. New Orleans, I think that's going to be a tough one. Washington, okay, you can probably chalk that up as a win. Then Pittsburgh again, that might be another win. We'll see. So yeah, it really is just so frustrating because we could be sitting here at 4-0, but just the problems that have not been fixed over these first four games, and it's just I mean I have no confidence on third down with this defense at all. If it's third down, I'm just assuming that they're gonna convert, and it's probably gonna be somebody wide open. Especially earlier on, he would just run out of the pocket and then just be able to find some guy wide open. It was just unbelievable. So yeah, we've been lucky. A good quarterback hasn't really burned us with that. But I mean, look at the schedule I just went over. I mean, all those quarterbacks, those good teams, they're going to take advantage of it, and we're going to be in for real ass kicking in a few of those games if we keep playing on both sides of the ball and we keep having the same play calling as we did today.
Yeah, and yet again we dominated time of possession, 35 minutes to their 24. You talk about third down efficiency. The Falcons only had 9 third downs. Because it's most of their drives either we did have our successful drives where we were stopping them. They didn't score at all in the second or third quarter, but then on their successful drives they wouldn't even make it to third down because they would just run down the field on us. And it was pretty wild. In the Browns we went 5 for 14 on third down. We were terrible on third down because that's it seems like third downs when Kevin Stefanski loves to run wild plays, or because we're so aggressive, we'll be in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and we'll just do a little check down play to get us a better 4th yard advantage. Which is fine if you're going to convert. We were 2 for 3 on 4th down. We didn't get that one on the goal line, but we went 2 and 2 the rest of the game, so that is what it is. But yeah, all around, just a very weird game to lose when you look at the statistics. And that's what makes it so brutal with the games coming up, like you said. I other than getting lucky, with some health against the Patriots, which, that's never what you're rooting for. You never want your team to be in a situation where you're winning games because you're lucking out of who's not playing. You know what I mean? And you could say that the Falcons could be saying that today about Myles Garrett, but, we beat the Steelers without TJ Watt. So it goes all around the league back and forth. You never want that to be what you're relying on. Besides that, I mean, yeah, maybe beating the Bengals on Halloween because of the Bengals, and we've had their number, but we're not just going to sweep them every season for eternity, so that's never a guarantee. So it's just really kind of worrisome looking down the road. But focusing on this game, I think overall, definitely a game we should have won. I think our biggest flaw, was the play calling, especially on offense. And someone's got to work on our defense when it comes to zone coverage because you can't play man-to-man all game. I think we're very good passing defense in man-to-man, but when we start to play zone coverage, it's like our players just turn into an AI on rookie mode and just go stand in their zone and just wait for the player to catch it so they can tackle them. It's honestly ridiculous, and it's like almost to the point of being baffling to me. So those are the two big things that stuck out to me. Cody, or I'm sorry, what's his name? Cade York had another good game. He continues to play well. So not a lot structurally that needs to really be changed here. I just feel like we got to do better at what we do good. Like, you don't really have to change anything. Just like stop being weird with the play calls, and like you said, keep it simple and just do better. But even doing that, even if they fix all of that and just do better offensively, we could score 26, 27 points next week and still lose. You know what I mean? So it's going to be tough against the Chargers. It's going to be tough against the Ravens, and these upcoming teams.
Yeah, I just think we're lucky that we've been playing some bad teams and we've kind of lucked out with that. But yeah, it's just like you said, just keep it simple. I know fans, are not the same as coaches. I know we don't have the experience as coaches, and maybe we're just talking out of our ass. But when you have the best backfield in the league, you need to use them in much better opportunities than you are. I mean, I think everybody who knows anything about football would agree about that. And like I said, it's not a new problem. It's a problem I've been seeing the last couple of years since Kevin Stefanski started here. And even with Freddie Kitchens, it was a problem. But, he's a whole different story anyway, so who knows what was going on with him. But it just seems like we just get in our own way more than anything else. Obviously, a good team is going to scheme against you, and they're going to be, if they have great players, it's going to be difficult. But against these bad teams where you just kind of let them hang around or just kind of give the game away. That's just on the coaching. It starts at the top and goes down. Um, and you're completely right. Whenever we're playing zone, it's like, okay, nobody knows what they're supposed to do, so somebody's just going to be open. Um, I'm glad Denzel Ward finally had an interception today, but I mean, he's been a major disappointment. Um, a
It was
couple
a
of other,
bad throw too. It's not like he made a great
yeah,
play.
that's the thing. Um, it's going to be good getting Clowney back for sure. Miles Garrett, we'll see how he's feeling after his car wreck. I mean, if he's going to be able to play next week, and just how he is feeling because I'm sure he's still banged up after that. But like I said, we were actually blitzing, which I was surprised at, which it seems like we never do, and we were getting decent pressure on Mariota, which is what we have to do. But still, it's the same problems that keep coming up. Again, with Harrison Bryant targeting him so many times, I just don't understand that. Um, but yeah, I think, like you said earlier, one of the biggest things is just the passing game. That's going to be our Achilles heel, for the rest of the time that Jacoby Brissett is out there. And like I said, I don't even expect Deshaun Watson to come back and just be, look like an All Pro the last 5 or 6 games. I'm sure he's going to struggle too, but the passing game is going to get better with him, especially on those deep balls. There's going to be a lot more touch, a lot more accuracy on those throws. He's going to be able to get out of the pocket more than Brissett, even though Brissett has kind of shocked us with his running ability and his quickness lately. Um, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just so frustrating. Like I said, just we had this game, and especially on paper, even if it wasn't a super impressive game from either side. I mean, we had this game and we just let them win. And I'm sure the Falcons probably won't win a handful of more games all year, and that's just going to make it suck even more.
Yeah, I think just to pull it away, I did mention Cade York and a couple of positives, but just to kind of put a silver lining on it, I think that JOK was great today. Tied for the leading in tackles, and he's been great this season. One of my favorite Browns, and I think he was a great pick. And I just hope to see him develop even more throughout the season and make some really big plays. But he's great at the tackles for loss, getting pressure on those blitzes. He's been really great there. So continue to hopefully see some good things for him. And once we get those defensive ends back that get more of that focus from the offensive line, it just brings up more opportunities for him. So looking forward to seeing that. And I do also just want to say at the end of the day, it's only week 4. You look at the season as 4 quarters. This is the end of the first quarter, and we're 2-2. It's not great, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. And who else is 2-2 in the AFC North? Literally all 4 teams. The Steelers managed to lose to the Jets today. The Baltimore Ravens blew a 17-point lead against the Bills and lost to them. Bengals, did get a win, but they're also 2-2. And in our one divisional game, we won. So looking at it from a divisional standpoint, everything, is gravy there for now, although you did have a great opportunity to go up at 3-1 and lead the division, but we are not behind at this point. And I do think our season largely, like most teams, is going to come down to our 6 divisional games, which we're going to get to a couple of them here in a couple of weeks. So there is still hope there. We both, predicted at the beginning of the season that we would have a winning record, but we wouldn't make the playoffs. But if you're someone who has hope for that, I think this isn't like the sky is falling, the season is over. It's just early signs are really not looking good, and hopefully we can just be in some type of contention or close to 500 by the time Deshaun Watson steps in. But yeah, these next few weeks is going to be a big kind of sign of, do we have any hope, of any type of winning record this year?
Yeah, I'm honestly curious if Joe Woods is pulling double duty and also is the defensive coordinator of the Ravens because they don't seem to be able to hold a fourth quarter lead either. So that's a good thing. And the Jets, you can never count them out. Apparently, even with Zach Wilson,
Zach Wilson,
today.
Yeah, he played well today. Actually, Zach Wilson, from what I saw, on Red Zone, he played pretty well against the Steelers. So good for him and good for them. They beat us, so I'm glad they beat the Steelers as well.
Yeah. And it looks like the Kenny Pickett era has finally started in Pittsburgh, which I think that's a complete mistake because I don't even think Trubisky was playing that bad. I mean, how much can you obviously expect out of him anyways? But Kenny Pickett with small hands has to wear 2 gloves. I mean, I don't really expect him to do much of anything. I think it's going to come down to obviously the divisional games are going to be huge. They're going to be tough as well. And yeah, like I said, just especially against some of those teams like Buffalo, Miami's going to be tough. You know, in a couple of these games here, I mean, the coaching staff and those star players that they have, they're not going to be able to get away with all these mistakes and still be able to, in a position to win the game. So my hope is that they don't just come out and say, "Oh yeah, we know the problems and we know there's problems out there and we're going to address them and we're going to get it fixed and then we're going to see the same problems again next week," because that always seems to be what happens. So I hope that's early enough, and we can just like you said, the season's not over, and we didn't have the Browns winning the Super Bowl anyways. So it's not like the entire season is crumbling. It's not like we're 0-4 or anything like that. But still, these early problems, I think it's a good time to nip it in the bud now. But I mean, if we're still having the same conversation in 9 or 10 weeks, then there's going to be some serious problems and some serious questions at the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, and again, not to kind of give them excuses or anything, but it's like the Eagles, I believe, beat the Jaguars today, and they're now 4-0. They are the only undefeated team already 4 weeks in. It was actually even like 3 weeks in. I think it was just them in Miami, and then Miami lost on Thursday. So it's very hard to not lose games, and even just in the first 2 weeks. So I sit here and I say, wow, the Browns really should be 4-0. There's probably a lot of teams, with their fans that are saying that are like, wow, we really shouldn't have lost. There's so many games. I think I saw a stat at some point today that said this is through the first 3 weeks, it was the most in NFL history of number of games that come down to 3 points. So that's just how the league is right now, which I personally think is really fun. But it sucks, when it's your team that's losing these close games. So I do get that, but I don't want to go too far and think that the season is over. I just think that it's really going to be a week by week basis. There's going to be weeks where we come out and we win and it's going to feel really good. And there's going to be weeks where we blow it and it sucks. But until we really get through these next maybe even 4 or even 6 games, it's going to be hard to tell just how good we are without Deshaun Watson, because it's kind of hard to tell. It's the quarterback is the most important position on the team. Your team could be really, really good, but you can't really tell because you don't have a good quarterback, or vice versa. Maybe our team's actually really bad and Jacoby Brissett's doing an amazing job and none of our receivers are doing their job. Like, it's really hard to tell without your quarterback in there. So, yeah, it's just going to be kind of a week-by-week basis, which obviously we will be covering here every week on Hot Takes on the Lake. But do you have any other final thoughts on this game, Nick?
No, it's just I hope just the play calling and the mental errors get cleaned up. Because like I said, against those good teams, they're going to really take advantage of it. Um, and like I said before, I think that Brissett has played better than most of us expected him to play. He's been really solid. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see, even when Deshaun Watson finally makes his debut, I think he's going to struggle, obviously. Um, but I think there's going to be flashes where, like, wow, like, Brissett probably couldn't make a play like that. He couldn't make a throw like that. You're going to see, the level and the quality of quarterback just go up when Deshaun Watson finally makes his debut. And I think that's going to be one of the things that's, you know, going to elevate not just the offense, but this team in general. And I don't think Jacoby Brissett is holding the team back necessarily, because, I mean, he can't play defense too. He's not the one out there leaving guys wide open in zone coverage. So he's doing the best he can. But he did. So I think that he's still been playing well. If he just continues to do that, be accurate, take care of the ball, and just really just be a field general out there, and just kind of, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, Josh. I'm just done talking about this.
It's one of the it's been one of those days and one of those games where you're almost
I
kind
have thought about him, but I'm just like, you know what? This is going nowhere. So I'm just,
of.
I got nothing. I'm fried.
But all right, we'll be back later this week to preview that game against the Chargers at home. We're at home the next 2 weeks, so that's at least good. Actually, we're at home 3 of the next 4, so a big home stretch here. Only away in Baltimore in a few weeks, so that'll be coming up later this week. If you're watching us here on YouTube or you're listening to us on a podcast platform, either way, make sure to subscribe so you can catch all of our episodes and join us this season on Hot Takes on the Lake.
Yeah, thank you guys, and you can obviously follow us on all social media at Hot Takes on the Lake, or at Hot Takes 216 on Twitter. And yeah, we'll see you guys later in the week with our preview of the Browns versus the Chargers. So we'll see you guys then.